Thanks for tuning in. Give us a call at 612-504-8400 or visit us online at havenfinancialgroup.com. Every week we talk about retirement, the do's, the don'ts, what you can do, changing economy, and what's not changing, Kim. And good to be with you. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to all the listeners and to you too.
Well, thank you, sir. And the same to you. I was thinking about it, and we're just a couple of days from Christmas, and then we start just plunging toward the new year, 2024 in the rearview mirror. And it just feels like 25, got here very quickly. I don't know how you feel about that, Larry, but 24 feels like it just flew by for me.
Well, as we get older, every year flies by too quickly. Even though, of course, the holiday season, all the girls are home. And again, I hope you get to spend time with family and others as well. It's great, but every year faster and faster. And here we are.
Here we are. Well, this is the perfect time of year to really sort of step back, take a look at your affairs, and start anew in the beginning of 2025. So that's sort of the theme of our show today. A New Year Retirement Strategy Session is what we're calling it. And I wanted to take a look at some of the subjects that we're going to hit during the course of today. Preparing for changing interest rates. Of course, we know that the Fed has been busy bringing the interest rates down. So we're going to talk about how those taking effect might affect your retirement strategy. President-elect Donald Trump has nominated Billy Long. He is a congressman from my former home state of Missouri, to lead the IRS. We'll talk about what that might mean for you. Portfolio rebalancing, the best practices. And then finally, we're going to talk a little bit about the unexpected relationship between health and happiness in retirement. And, as we head in again to a new year, we all want to be thinking about those strategies that can make us the happiest as we move forward. So let's talk a little bit about preparing for changing interest rates. It's been very interesting to watch what the Fed's been doing, hasn't it?
Well, it has been. And interesting enough, the stock market is rolling around pretty good. We've seen quite some strengths in the last few weeks, or even months for that matter. But really, that is no indicator of what's in store for the future. It's not as if we haven't seen rocky or volatile times. It's not as if we haven't seen high inflation. My goodness, we've been talking about it, Kim, for 2 to 3 years, it seems like, and that's real. But what is it going to do in the future? And interest rates is one of those metrics that can really gauge, what's going to happen. The Fed, we've seen them cut rates this year, 2024, not nearly what the anticipation was, but they're going to be factoring some other quarter point reductions as well as we try to minimize the inflation, because there's concern. Now, there's always should be concern, but sometimes concern leads fear into people. And I find that you got to be very careful with that. I know the topic of tariffs and what Trump's going to do and how that tax cuts are going to boost inflation. Well, that very well could be, but we have seen inflation and prices are still high. But again, that's going to influence the monetary policies going forward. So anticipation, yes, adjusted rates, they're going to level off roughly, the 2% is what the target was. Now they're saying 2.9%.
Right.
All of this is speculative. It's really a moving target depending upon unemployment, the interest rates, the tax cuts, how the state of the economy is flowing. So we really got to keep an eye on it. But what that means to the individual and their retirement plan is just continue to monitor, update, stay in the know. Don't bury your head in the sand. Have discussions with whomever you're working with or partnering with, and hopefully you're partnering with somebody to talk through all the retirement topics or retirement puzzle pieces that you and I talk about on a regular basis.
Sure.
The tariffs, I think that was a big thing his first term too, but I think, and others agree, that it could be more of a negotiating tool, but to let fear factor into your decision-making is always extremely dangerous, and we want to avoid that at all costs.
Sure, absolutely. Well, we do anticipate that the Fed will sort of taper off their reductions certainly in the first quarter of 2025, as they allow these recent reductions to sort of stabilize the economy and see where we stand. What really we're the most interested in here on this program, though, is how this is going to affect retirees. So let's talk a little bit about these lower interest rates that we know we'll head into 2025 with. Somewhere around 4.25 and 4.5, and how that is going to impact those who are in retirement or very close to retirement, Larry.
Yeah, very much so. Especially those close to retirement, in retirement. Obviously, it affects everybody. But the lower interest rates, we've gotten accustomed in the last couple of years to, hey, finally getting some 4 to 5.5% returns on those fixed income, money market, high yield savings, certificates of deposit. Because for 15 years you couldn't get more than pennies, and wow, it's been really nice. If the rates go down, you'll see those rates go down. We've already seen this a little bit. If anybody shopped these types of accounts out in recent months, so that's one thing. On the other side of it is it could decrease borrowing costs.
Sure.
What's the real estate market going to do? Refinancing that mortgage may become more intriguing if you have a mortgage. Good goal is to not have a mortgage in retirement. Not everybody can do that, but that might open up an opportunity because what we've seen in recent months or even the last year and a half is some retirees or those getting close maybe want to downsize. They're kind of house locked. The houses are so expensive and interest rates are high. Timing hasn't been good. That might free up some opportunities for those that are kind of been in that position. Your investment portfolio, maybe time to relook at that. It's always time to look at it, in our opinion, to make sure you're tapped into the right types of accounts and the right tax classified accounts. Rebalancing the portfolio. Frequently we talk about that. Kyle Thomas, our certified financial planner on the Haven investment team, just in recent weeks, we've talked in depth about that. So review those plans. First of all, have a plan. But, the first year of the presidency, nobody said it's going to be easy. Nobody said it's going to be easy. I anticipate volatility. I anticipate some pains. But Americans have had pains now for quite a while. The pocketbook, high prices, gas prices, which, quite frankly, there's a good chance those are going to come down significantly. So you got to weigh the good with the bad. And that's not going to be easy. But again, as Americans and the U.S. economy is still strong, and I truly believe we can weather the storm and make this much, much better.
So let's walk us through what you're saying to your clients as we head into 2025. And we now have watched, the reduction in interest rates, and we're going to get into this sort of lull period while we wait for the inauguration and then ultimately this new administration to step in.
Well, first of all, that plan, do you have it? Have you revisited it in a long time? If not, it's never too early to do that. Interest rates is a very important factor in retirement strategies, but it's not the only factor. Mm-hmm. It's what are you doing at this stage of life? How long are you going to work? What's the timeline of when you're going to need your money? Timing the market and the risk of the market isn't nearly as important for a lot of the folks we sit down with. It's how do I turn that savings that we've worked so hard for all these years into an income plan, a reliable income plan, because that's really the name of the game. Yeah, you can have a big, beefy portfolio, but does it sustain a long, fruitful 20, 30, 35-year retirement? Mm-hmm. Do you have a pension? My wife and I won't have a pension. Many Americans won't. Social Security, yeah, I am a firm believer it's not going anywhere, but we shouldn't rely on it completely. And therefore, how do you supplement that income for a long period of time, sustaining what we know is going to happen, whether we forget or not? Inflation is going to go up and down. There's going to be bullish markets and bearish markets. You're going to have unexpected expenses, which is very important to hone in on. We preach to the younger generation about that, but equally so to those as we retire, having an adequate gauge of what those expenses are, not guessing. Hope is not a plan. A plan takes details. And yes, it's not fun for a lot of people. Oftentimes, as for married couples, one does it, the other one doesn't want to even hear about it. I encourage, if I've just described you and your spouse or significant other, make sure both of you are part of this conversation, whether you like it or not, because there's going to come a day for almost every situation that it is going to affect you. And now he or she's not going to be here to help you make those decisions. Right. And have a partner that you can lean on, that you have trust. And I can't tell you how many times over the years, Kim, we'll sit down and go through our Haven proprietary process. And, they really like the investment side of it. They might be missing all the other pieces. And I'll point blank ask them, how can we help you? It's obvious the investments you're very interested in, you research and you're a do-it-yourselfer.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't tell you, all the years I've done this, how many times, Larry, I want my spouse to have somebody they have faith and trust in before something happens, because in life, it always happens. Because when you lose somebody or somebody becomes ill, it is not the time to start, oh my goodness, I better start interviewing people or gain a comfort level, because now emotions are involved and your significant other is no longer here. We don't like to talk that way, but it's important. And in what we do, we got to talk about it.
Sure, absolutely. If you're looking for a partner when it comes to strategizing about your retirement and you want to stay ahead of the market changes, then give Haven Financial Group a call, 612-504-8400. That's how you can reach them, or you can go to havenfinancialgroup.com. Let me give you that number one more time, 612-504-8400. We want to talk a little bit about this incoming administration and some of the changes that will be taking place in